So, a little bit about managing remote systems of all kinds. And as you have on your handout, the best way to manage systems is to have them all working the same way. So I added a little bit on your flyer saying that they should all push and pull from some central server, and this might be through BigFix, Tivoli endpoint management, or it might be Monkey for Mac OS I just heard about. I haven't really looked into much. Group policy through Active Directory or Puppet, Chef, that sort of thing. Those are all good, and those are all things I'm not going to talk about today. So that's just there for reference, and we're going to move on. What really I'm going to focus on today is once you've got clients, and they might be part of your managed pool, and they might not be, you still have to go fix them now and then, or go look something up on them, check them out. So there's various ways of doing that. And we don't always use those ways. Sometimes it's actually better to visit them in person, because if someone's having trouble, you get a personal interaction as well. But sometimes you really just need to be able to get at a machine and check something out. So I thought I'd run down a few of the things I use. Most of these fall into the category "it works for me." So there'll probably be a lot of options and ways of doing things that I haven't used. But I'll see what I can do to comment on them and maybe solicit feedback from the rest of you. First off, we'll just go through part of the list here. So remote desktop. You've probably all used it. Windows remote desktop. We have one terminal server that we tend to use in our CUSG group. And on there, hello. On there, I use it as a launching point to a number of different Windows remote desktops. So instead of doing a fresh launch to a bunch of things, I've got a couple of dozen servers that I might be poking at. So I have my own Microsoft Management Console here, with a few commonly used tools like Active Directory users and computers, and a remote desktop snap-in with access to a bunch of machines that I tend to visit frequently. So yeah, I can go directly to this machine as a specific user and log in and do a Java update, or say, okay, now it's safe to patch and reboot, and then I can jump to another machine and do the same thing there. So that's my tip, is for remote desktops, set up a Microsoft Management Console for yourself. And
how do you do that?
If you just start and run and hit MMC, it should pop up an empty one for you with privilege.
Do you have to be an admin to set this up for yourself?
I believe so. But once you've saved it, I think anyone can actually run it. I could be wrong about that. That's something that might just have to be tested.
You don't need to be an admin to run the MMC, but you need to be an admin to run the applications, all the snap-ins.
Yeah.
That's probably what it is. Since mine's already loaded, let's see.
I never done that remote desktop stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I picked that up from Microsoft consultant that had visited us.
I didn't even know that was actually possible to sign that.
So how do you define it's a client?
Well, let's see here. If this is being a little slow here, so let me just jump back to this one here. If I had another client to add, I could right-click on here. Oh, sorry. Make sure I'm selecting that snap-in first, and then right-click it and say Add a new connection. And
the remote desktop snap-in just comes with, does it come with Windows client as well as Windows Server desktop?
Yes, it comes with everything.
I'm not sure that you'll find it on a normal Windows client, unless you maybe have installed RSAT, the remote,
Right.
whatever remote action
person computer.
That's it, yeah, yeah. Because if it adds that, it should add most of the common tools.
Do you need to add a rule, like Windows 2008, rules, features? Because I never see remote desktop there, snap in.
Also depends, I think, on the
Well, if we
version
go
of
back
server,
there.
because I know, like, I installed a version of server that didn't have the printing stuff on there.
Yeah, because you need to add the rules or
Yeah.
the features,
Yeah,
whatever.
I think it's data center you had on here, right, or enterprise?
This one's probably enterprise, yeah.
Okay, yeah, the different versions of Windows, sometimes
Okay.
Microsoft likes to pull the rug underneath you.
That's right, yeah. The nice thing is that if you see that it's possible, then you'll know that we can Google for it and figure out, well, what do I have to add to make it work?
Okay, cool.
So in this case, here's the empty MMC, and I can add remote desktop snap in. And then say OK. And then it's ready to go here with no clients yet. But yeah, you can just add individual connections. And the nice thing is you can change the username at will there. So actually on this one, this is almost all stuff in the EECS domain, but it isn't all EECS. BSEC Win Old here is actually something in the campus domain. And I can just launch my remote desktop to each one of those, whatever I need to get to.
Have you tried what they call remote desktop connection manager? Have you seen that?
I've heard of that, but I haven't used it.
See, this one here, you have to define each one connection, right?
That's right.
The password, one password that you set up doesn't actually apply to all of them.
That's right. Each one can have its own separate credentials and separate passwords. Okay. I skipped one thing there first. The KVM over IP, I kind of skipped it because it's not really on topic, but I thought maybe for those of you who haven't used it, it's kind of nice to see. Like, this is going to be a connection to the campus KVM, and as you can see, they haven't updated their certificate for whatever reason.
Probably vendors.
Could be. Yeah, maybe there's no easy way to add it to this console or something. But this one is a CalNet auth. And from here, different machines in the data center I can access directly as a KVM. And so these are actual physical machines down there. You wouldn't have to jump through some of these hoops if you have a virtual machine on the campus infrastructure, so that's preferable. But if you have a physical machine down there, then it's nice to know you can at least work with it.
I didn't even know they
What
offered
does
that.
it use? Is it Flash, Java?
Not sure.
Something.
Yeah.
Generally, it's Java.
ActiveX.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I understand your distinction between the physical machine and the virtual machine. You're saying you can't use this KVM to get to a virtual machine?
These are actual racked machines, and this console is wired into the back. So there's little connections, network connections for these
But it's
guys.
actually giving you a console on these physical machines.
That's right.
That's a
So how would you get a console on your virtual machines here?
Whatever your virtual machine manager
Yeah.
does that. Have you done campus virtual machines?
I haven't used the manager. I think I logged into the interface once.
Okay, yeah, because the way they do it is you do a remote desktop to a server that they maintain, and you can run the console manager there and connect to your console.
Okay.
And I think they put the virtual machines in different security groups so that you have console access to phones and remote.
Okay. And that'll even give you, like, essentially post-access while you're rebooting it and such.
I think so. I haven't done that because I haven't needed to look at it during the reboot. I just
Okay.
rebooted and come back and done it.
Yeah. With the physical machines, you do run into the occasional issue of, oh, I got to hit F1 to continue or something stupid like that. With the virtual machines, that's less of an issue.
Yeah.
So once it's up, then you can connect with it, remote desktop or whatever. I apologize, this is a little long in loading the Java or whatever client it is. So I think I'm just going to kill that anyway.
That website is actually, you can see the remote, the virtual machines and the physical machines all in one place.
That one was just the physical machines.
Just the physical machines.
Yeah.
So that's a hardware proprietary?
Yeah.
Okay.
And for that reason, it's a little off topic from what I was going over today because it's an actual console connection. It's not really a remote connection. It's just happens to
It's
be a
physical
remote
box.
console connection, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so I'll jump along here into VNC comes in various flavors. You might have seen tight VNC and ultra VNC and so on. Some of them advertise that they connect securely. I think tight VNC is one of those. If you have a tight VNC client and a tight VNC server, maybe that's true. But most of the VNC clients and servers are interoperable, so it's generally a good idea to treat them as insecure and plan on using VNC through an SSH tunnel, which is something I do all the time.
It's also Real VNC, that's a commercial product.
Real VNC, okay.
Yeah, they do keys, similar to SSH keys.
Okay. Every day, all the time, I'm connected through a tunnel to one of our FreeBSD machines just because it's convenient for me to access a lot of my other Unix machines. I use PuTTY Agent, so I didn't have to type an extra SSH key. Likewise, once I'm in there, I've got SSH agents working for me as well, so I can just jump around and stuff. And depending on your flavor of VNC, you might have different screen capabilities and such. I'm using a window manager called Sawfish in this case. FVWM is often the default, I think, with a lot of VNCs. But you can do all sorts of stuff through VNC, MATLAB included.
Is that XVNC on the Linux client?
This, no. This is a FreeBSD server of tight VNC, I believe. And then it's just a VNC viewer on Windows connecting to it.
Is Type VNC commercial or software, or do you have to buy it? Or?
I didn't have to buy it. It's one of the free ones. I don't know if they have a pro offer.
I think it is.
And I think Tight VNC's initial design was designed to do more compression so that it's a little bit faster over slower connections.
But it's also a feature that has encryption.
That's what I've heard. I have not tested that with Wireshark or anything like that, but I've at least read that online someplace. So, but I always use it through an SSH tunnel. I don't take any chances.
Right, but someone could make a mistake and connect to your Type VNC server on your FreeBSD machine and...
This one's not opened.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not open through the firewall. So you have to actually, on this particular machine, you have to get there through SSH first before you can talk to it.
And you can Google and find directions on how to do that.
Yes. I'm going to leave that as an exercise to the reader. Okay. Now, you can see Sawfish is a pretty plain kind of desktop manager. FEWM is even plainer. There are ways of doing VNC and getting a full GNOME interface or KDE interface, but I tend to find that those are workarounds. It may not be the easiest. It's a little bit more, I guess, graphically intensive. So I often will just stick with a simpler desktop manager rather than, GNOME and KDE are like a full session manager. And in some cases, the workaround means you're really only connecting to the one console login rather than, say, 3 people each having their own session on the machine. But they can easily have their own desktop managers. A number of people can use the same machine for VNC. If you really need a console connection, then one nice way of doing it is with a client, close that one here. A client like No Machine. And this is one of those free for limited use and paid for more features kind of programs.
Usually for 2 connections.
Yeah, you can, if you're the only one using your machine,
2 connections, 2 people.
you can get 2 connections on it, so go ahead and do the free version. But at least one research group, the Nguyen research group, pays about $1,100 for licenses, and everyone in their group uses a couple machines. And BWRC uses this extensively and pays $1,500 or something.
$1,500 for unlimited, yes.
Unlimited, okay.
He uses the same sources to some, for the most extent. It's just, like you said, just a couple of features difference.
Okay. And the way I think of this from what I read maybe a year or two ago on No Machine is that it's connecting over SSH to authenticate you, and then it's throwing the display to a separate port where No Machine server and client are talking.
Through
So,
SSH.
is it still encrypted through
Everything's
SSH?
through SSH.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was avoiding the tunnel after the initial authentication, but I wasn't sure.
No, it's not.
Okay.
The one way that I know that for sure is because of the firewall.
And
Everything's blocked.
here I am on a connection to Ultra High Q, a research server. And you can see it's a full Linux login interface, everything here. And a nice reminder that we're doing our team fundraising again this year for Waves to Wine.
Subliminal advertising.
Yes. So we're raising money to fight MS. Professor Patterson and our group, we ride in September each year. And you're welcome to ride with us or help us raise money.
So for No Machine, if somebody sat in front of the computer, is that what they would see?
This gets to be only mine. So no, if they're sitting in front of the machine, they don't see this one. Everyone who uses a No Machine connection to it gets their own separate session.
I think it's only Linux.
Yeah, they're limited to what operating systems. So this is fantastic if you have a number of people sharing a Linux system remotely. And in the case, yeah, you need RAM. These groups tend to use it for things like CAD tools. So they want something that has a full graphic interface. They want something that's easy to bring new users up to speed in.
It's also persistent, so if you lose your net connection,
Right.
reestablish it.
Like
It
my
stays
web
there.
page.
It stays
My
there.
web page was waiting for us when we connected.
Yeah.
And when I disconnect, I actually have a choice. Do I want to terminate the whole thing or just disconnect?
Well, you need RAM.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
similar
2
to
gigabytes
desktop.
minimum per user.
If you're using CAD tools, you
Yeah.
probably want RAM
Minimum.
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if you're not running anything, just to start it. Yeah.
2 people.
Okay.
Well, it's a standard session.
And people leave those running a lot, right? So
Oh my
Yeah.
God, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really convenient. It's like Windows RDP.
And you've got some tools to manage what sessions are open and how long they've been running.
And
And
X
stuff.
has the tools on like in the Beam server, yeah.
Okay.
You get command line tools.
Okay.
So we have actually a script there that actually every month we run the script to delete the users if they're not being, the session's not being used.
Okay.
It used to be. Now we have 4 unlimited servers.
Okay.
So we don't do that anymore, but before we didn't.
Okay.
So we actually kill the user after a month if
Okay.
they're not using for a certain period.
Now, do you use the clustering feature?
Not yet.
Because
I want-
No Machine and
yes.
NX have a clustering feature too,
Yes,
so
I
you can
know.
set that
I
up.
wanted to set, yes, that's one of my projects, yes.
For BWRC, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
For a smaller group like Nguyen's group, probably not. They're only really connecting to one machine or maybe 2 machines.
Yeah. We have 4 NX
It's
servers.
just used
Okay.
doing more intensive stuff.
I definitely
Your
use
machine's
it.
on a flat line.
Okay. I'm going to move along quickly to Apple Remote Desktop here with the help of another tunnel. Woohoo! Mac on Windows.
Is this still the same license?
The same remote desktop license?
Is it?
No. I think we've purchased a newer version since way back when. Yeah. So Apple Remote Desktop, we do have to pay for it on campus, but it's not super expensive. I think it's $80. I think when we bought it, it was still a whopping $200 or something like that. I mean, it's not a huge investment.
And that's unlimited use?
Pretty much, yeah. I
It
don't.
is unlimited use, yes. At least when we bought the first time, yes.
Okay.
I think they've relaxed it, they relaxed a lot of this stuff, so it's just VNC prepackaged.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, I've connected to the one Mac server we use with Apple Remote Desktop, where then I can connect to a few different clients that we support.
Are you seeing the whole desktop, or is that?
This is the whole desktop. If I scroll down a little bit, you can see down here is all the junk.
So this is your server that we're looking at?
So this is a server, which, okay, it's really just a MacBook sitting on a desk. But yeah, this is the Mac server that we're working with. It's not even running a server operating system, right? But
Serving services?
But it's my server because it has Apple Remote Desktop installed on it and knows how to talk to a few of the clients. Now, most of my clients that I have here in this list are MacBooks. There are a few machines that are wired and I can count on them being in the same place all the time. And that is the easiest way to use Apple Remote Desktop. So you've got a lab full of Macs. That can work very well. You can add them and they'll stay put. With a MacBook, something that moves around IP addresses, you add it once and then you know it's online because it's sitting here next to you and suddenly it's showing it's not online anymore. We found that it doesn't maintain a server-client communication very well, but on some of our MacBook clients, we've installed a dynamic DNS solution. So our machine Asgard here, for instance, or let me take a better example. I think Puppy is one. Puppy exists as a host name on this MacBook, but it also exists as a dynamic DNS client called puppy.doesn'texist.org. And if I add it to Apple Remote Desktop by address, and I give it that fully qualified puppy.doesn'texist.org, that's what gets kept in the plist that Apple Remote Desktop maintains. And it seems to be able to follow the machine better, as long as the dynamic DNS client is still working. So for our purposes, these remote MacBooks, dynamic DNS seems to be very helpful. And then any one of these machines, then I can directly go in and control. And so here we're going to go 2 levels deep.
Like Inception.
This is Inception. And to be honest, I rarely connect to this Mac server directly through PuTTY. I usually connect to it from within that VNC client session to my FreeBSD machine. So if I go to a client like Asgard or Puppy, I'm often 4 levels deep. I'm on a Windows machine connected to a FreeBSD machine connected to a Mac server connected to Asgard. Yeah, it's a little slow.
What client do you use on the non-Mac to connect to the Mac? To connect to your
There is
server?
not much of a.
Yeah, I'm using a VNC connection to get to my MacBook server.
Okay.
What VNC software are you using on your laptop to get to your,
Oh, I think
your Mac OS server?
on here it's just VNC Viewer. On the Mac server, I believe it's Vine.
Yeah, that's a free version.
Okay. And the thing about it is once you've set up a machine as your Apple Remote Desktop server, because as Marcelino said, it's all based on VNC, it already co-opts the normal VNC ports. So you have to set up, if you want to connect remotely to that, you have to set up a separate VNC client like Vine to use an alternate port and then connect to it that way. But for the most part, if you're going to be managing the machines remotely and you're okay with saying, okay, I'm going to sit down in front of my server when I want to do anything with these remote Macs, you can live with that.
There is one other product that you didn't see listed here. It's called like IRAP or IRAPP. Last time I saw.
Okay.
And it's a third-party company that when you install it on the Mac, essentially gives you RDP access to the Mac.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's just expensive.
Okay.
I wish Apple would just buy them and integrate it, and now they'd be done with it.
Yeah.
They have like gobs of money. They could just easily do that, but they don't.
So you can see everything's a little slow connecting to Asgard at the moment here. I'm closing Safari and boom, it took a little while.
I like the cat.
But then yeah, you can close the connection to Asgard from my server now.
You have the ability to observe and or control. And if you control, you can
Yeah,
put a
and
curtain and
the
all.
curtain's nice. If you have to do work on it, you don't want the people in front of the console seeing it. In the case of a Mac, you're connecting to the console. This is not a separate session for every connection. So, you want to install some software, you can do it via the curtain and put up a little lock message while you're connecting. So they'll see, Lars is busy, come back in 5 minutes, you know, something like that.
But they can't mess up the mouse either, right?
Have you
Can't
ever
mess
used
it.
the install feature on this?
If you have something that's in PKG format, you can remote install, and I've done that, but not very often.
Okay.
I said cancel. See, my connection to Zoolander is pretty slow too, so I'm not going to be all that effective here. Let's just close this one out. Are we on Unique Secure? Maybe we'll get a faster network. That might help. Hang on.
That says you're connected.
Okay, there we go. All right. And has anybody used a service like LogMeIn or GoToMyPC?
Yep.
These
Team viewer and
and TeamViewer, yeah, these are all, you know, there's something you can get for free. There's more you can get if you pay. I use this to connect to some machines at my church, for instance. And this is a sort of a typical thing where you install a client on the remote machine, and then you connect through a website or something that's talking to the LogMeIn servers or the GoToMyPC servers. And the real advantage here is that you can get to machines that are behind network address translation. This particular machine is behind 2 layers of network address translation. So as long as their client is running, it's talking to the GoToMyPC servers or whatever, you can talk to the server, your connection can get established. Sometimes you'll find, you know, this works great for helping out with mom or grandma. The connection speed is actually pretty good. We could almost watch a YouTube video over this connection and not be too upset by the frame rate. But it works great for things that, you know, and in our case, we run an instance of QuickBooks on here, and we don't have the licensing to share the QuickBooks file everywhere, so we have to go on that machine to use QuickBooks. So sometimes there are good reasons to get to a machine remotely, even if you're not fixing something.
As far as speed goes, doesn't it usually hook up a one-to-one interaction between you and the remote machine? So
I think that's what it does, yeah. Yeah, the initial connection is established with the help of the server, but then it should just be you to the machine.
Google has a something for the Chrome stuff that is a remote desktop. Has anybody looked at that?
I don't know.
It seemed like similar to this, from what I read about it.
That's not related to Google Hangouts. That's something else?
No, it's called remote desktop.
Yeah, it just basically
Okay.
gives you remote control of a session via Chrome browser. It's mostly because of Chrome OS for the little slimmed down OS, so you could access real computers, but it basically just has VNC and RDP.
Okay.
Nothing fancy. It's just a Chrome plugin.
Okay. LogMeIn also had another neat tool that I haven't used in a while called Hamachi Network. And this could be helpful. You know, in the case of the connection to the church computer there, it's running a client, and I'm connecting to that client. And I have to put that client on every machine I want to connect to on that network. But it's also possible to set up what they call a Hamachi network, where one machine in this remote site runs this client that says, I'm part of this virtual network. And then here on my laptop, I run a Hamachi client that says, hey, I'd like to join that network. And again, we're connected with the help of the servers. But then we end up sitting on the same virtual network together. It's almost like I'm multi-homed. So I'm living here on the wireless in Corey Hall, but I also have an existence on this shared network. And I can talk to other machines that are on the same local network as the one with the client installed. And
VPN.
yeah, it's like a VPN setup, and that's been very helpful in a couple of cases where I might work with a machine at a remote site that had a few other machines that I kind of wanted to be able to keep tabs on, but didn't necessarily want to have a client installed on every dang machine that I might connect to. I haven't used this in a while though, because The Hamachi network did not seem to agree very well with VMware Workstation on my laptop. And that was more important to me than Hamachi network. So I said, okay, well, I'm hardly using it anyway. Get rid of it.
They're latent.